What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Rich Talks BS. We're going to start the show with the announcement from Coach K on retiring after this upcoming season. We knew it was coming. Well, I knew it was coming, but I just wasn't sure when it was coming. You know, he's been around, been around all this time, 41 seasons coaching Duke. And, that's all I know in Duke is Coach K. Grew up watching Coach K, grew up watching Duke basketball, um, looking at, the difference that he made in basketball over time and with being able to adapt with the game as it's going along and, to see the success that he had there, to listen to the people that, whose lives he's changed while being at Duke, and, the players that have come across and that's come into Duke and gone on to, bigger and better things after Duke, whether it was on the court, off the court. Coach K is, he's one of the greats. He's one of the great ones. He, 5 national titles. He had 41 first round draft picks, most wins in NCAA history for men and women. To me, he set the bar for college coaches. He is the bar for college coaches, to do what he did for so long with one program, being at Duke all this time, and to do what he did and to make the impact that he made, whether it was with his team or with the game in general, and it's been a good run, a long good run. He's been there, he's been there most of my life. Me being 35, he's been there for 41 years, so he's been there. He's been coaching at Duke for most of my life, and, just to, like I said, grow up seeing him coach, growing up seeing, those Duke teams in the tournament, in the ACC tournament, the Duke North Carolina games, it was fun. It was a fun ride. This farewell tour coming up last season, let's see, how he can end it. Let's see if he can make that big run in the tournament one last time, one last Final Four, one last national title. And, this season's going to be good. Hopefully, he can end on a good note. Past few seasons, he hasn't been doing that good. His teams haven't been doing that great. Just trying to adapt to the game. Again, just trying to adapt to the game. He can do it. It doesn't take him long. So we're going to see how this last season goes. We're going to see how it's going to end, and, just hope for the best. Also, on Sunday morning, it was announced Julio Jones to the Tennessee Titans. We knew Julio was going to be traded. We just didn't know to who. Who was going to pick up that salary, who was going to be able to, pick it up, who was going to be able to pay him, who was going to, give up something. So, Tennessee gave up a 2022 second round pick and a 2023 fourth round pick. So, Atlanta got that, while Tennessee got Julio and a 2023 sixth round pick. Julio and AJ Brown, that's going to be a good, that's good right there for Tennessee football. Tannehill's got 2 targets now. He's got his number 1 in Julio, number 2 in AJ Brown, who's upcoming, who's been good. He's he has, to me, he has number 1 receiver, attributes. He has number 1 receiver talents. So now having 2 number 1 receivers on one on each side, or however they're gonna line up, that's gonna be good for Tannehill. Also, taking the pressure and taking the focus off of Derrick Henry. With that, with Julio as a target now, you know, he's that's gonna allow Derrick Henry to be Derrick Henry, especially going deep into the season and into the playoffs. You know, later in the season and into the playoffs, you know, teams are figuring out how to actually, you know, deal with Derrick Henry at the same time stopping Tannehill in the passing game. Now it's going to be a little bit harder with Julio, and that's just gonna, you know, that's upgrading the Tennessee offense. You know, the season is almost here. Well, season's not almost here, kind of, but it is. But it's just not getting here fast enough. You know, with this, with Julio being in Tennessee, is going to be good in the AFC. Tennessee's going to be good in the AFC. That's going to up their chances of being a championship contender, and it's going to make this offense a little bit more exciting, rather than, you know, just watching Derrick Henry be Derrick Henry and do what he was doing last season. You know, I feel like he's going to do the same thing this season and maybe more, just because you got Julio on one side and you got AJ Brown on the other side, and that's just going to open up the offense a little bit more. So it's going to be exciting to see, you know, what Tennessee can do with Julio. Now we got the MLB Power 5. The Power 5 dropped yesterday with the Rays being at number 1, White Sox at 2, Padres at 3, Dodgers at 4, and Giants at 5. The Rays, you know, when you think about the Tampa Bay Rays, you know, you think about their pitching. Their pitching is great, you know, among one of the best. But their offense has been on point all season. Their offense is really good too. They got the 3rd highest run differential, you know, behind the White Sox and the Padres, and you know they're looking good right now. You know, they're leading right now, ahead of the Red Sox and the Yankees. You know, those two have been good too. They just finished the series off this weekend with the Red Sox sweeping the Yankees for the first time in a decade, and that was, you know, those were good games. But going back to the Rays, you know, they look good. You know, they still look like they still look like they're in World Series form. You know, just like last season. You know, they looked great. Their pitching was great. They made a couple moves in the offseason that was questionable, but they're bouncing back. They're looking good, and they're doing good. So, White Sox at 10-14. Their pitching is the 2.75 ERA in that stretch, and then La Russa jumped up to the 2nd all-time in managerial wins. Padres have been doing pretty good, except, you know, for last week falling to a sweep to the Cubs, which is one of the worst teams in the league. And then split in a 4-game series with the Mets, which, you know, it's kind of easy but kind of hard at the same time, depending on who's pitching. Especially if you're hitting against DeGrom, and DeGrom, you know, sitting at a .62 ERA for the season. You know, crazy pitching with DeGrom right now, and you know he's just looking like the best pitcher this season, and easily, you know, to win awards this coming up season. So, but yeah, the Padres, you know, and then they got the Cubs starting on Monday, and they got another 3-game series with the Cubs, which they can bounce back and, you know, go back to Padres form. Tatis is still doing what he's doing. The pitching is kind of falling a little bit, but they're gonna pick it back up. They're gonna get back into form. They're gonna get back on their runs, and they're, you know, it's nothing to panic over. You know, Dodgers have been the Dodgers all year. Dodgers been kind of up, kind of down. They've been more up than down, but you know, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. With the addition of Albert Pujols, that was a good pickup. You know, wasn't doing much with the Angels, wasn't playing much with the Angels. The Angels didn't really need him, so Dodgers picked him up. Dodgers have him playing. Dodgers have him doing doing what he's supposed to be doing, hitting. And he's been doing pretty good. I've seen a few of his outings and a few of his at bats, and he was, to me, he still looked like Albert Pujols. He's just getting a little bit older, and he's still, still hitting the ball, still getting his hits, so he's getting his home runs. Yeah, I think he got a home run the other day or the other night, and that was a good pickup for the Dodgers, which could help them in the playoffs. And then they're going to need help against this team, who's number 5, Giants. Giants look good. They've won 9 of 12, beat the Cubs 3 out of 4 in Chicago, and their pitching is great. This Giants team is going to be a team to look out for in the National League, and like I said, the Dodgers are going to have their hands full with this one, especially if they meet them deep in the NLCS. That's going to be a great series. I'd love to see that series, especially if it goes to 7. Right now, they're going to have to deal with the injury to Evan Longoria, who's out 4 to 6 weeks. That's going to kind of hit them a little bit. Hopefully, it doesn't hit them as hard as it may seem, with losing out on him to injury. But, I feel like the Giants are still going to be in Giants form. They're going to, keep up with the league. They're going to keep up with the, with the standings and not miss him as much as, it might seem. So when he comes back, they're just going to be in great form. They're going to be in better form, and just expect them to do more. So jumping into the NBA, also, Celtics president Danny Ainge stepped down, which moved Brad Stevens into that position. Now, that means the head coaching position is open for the Celtics. Now, they're in no rush to try to fill that position. Same thing with the Blazers. Blazers, came to mutual agreements with their head coach. Now the Blazers are without a head coach, and there's going to be some interviews coming up. They haven't went out and talked to anybody yet. I think both teams haven't been out to talk to anyone yet. They're not in a rush to fill this position, but I expect it to be filled, within the next 2 weeks, maybe. These two teams are gonna kind of be rebuilding. Dame said what he said after their loss, which is gonna kind of sit a little uncomfortable with coaching prospects. And Jason Kidd was one of them who backed out of that interview, or going to interview for that team because of what Dame said. But I don't see it, impacting any prospects to come in and coach, or to come in and interview for the coaching job. Playoffs, though. Playoffs were great. First round was great. Like I said, Blazers lost. Blazers lost in 6. Nuggets was just too much. The Blazers just couldn't finish it out. So now with the Nuggets and the Suns coming up in the second round, that's going to be a really good series. We're going to see how Joker can do what he can do against this Suns defense. So now we're going to have Joker versus Ayton, which is going to be really good. And it's just going to be a good series. This series could either go 6 or 7. It's going to be hard fought, especially with how the Nuggets have been playing. The Nuggets been playing, incredible. The Suns been playing really good too. Chris Paul is leading this team the way this team needed to be led. Booker's playing, Booker game. He's getting into that Mamba mentality, and that's what he did in the last game against the Lakers to go ahead and in game 6 against the Lakers. He had his head on straight. He showed no emotion, and you could just see it in his eyes that he had that Mamba mentality in his blood. He had that Mamba mentality going into game 6, and look what happened. So look out for Book. Book is on the up right now. He's playing really good, and he looks better than than he did in the regular season. Also, another series that came to an end: Mavs and Clippers. Clippers winning by 15 in Game 7. Now you got the Clippers and the Jazz. How is Kawhi and Paul George going to deal with or try to outplay this great Jazz team? It's going to be hard to beat this Jazz team. Donovan Mitchell is going off. Coming back from his injury, he's in great form. He's in great shape, and he's playing really great. Michael Porter just he had a little slump. He had a bad game. Taking the 3 shots in I think Game 4, and then after that he's been shooting the way he needs to be shooting. Take your shots. They're gonna fall. Whether you go 0 for 5, keep taking your threes, keep taking your shots, because it's gonna come in. And as soon as you catch that rhythm from that first shot, now you know how you need to shoot the ball. Now you found your rhythm, and keep it going. And that's what he's been doing. Even starting out the game, he went I think he went 6. He was 6 for 6 from 3. And then just kind of slowed down from there. But he gave the boost to the Jazz that they needed, and he's a key player. And it's just this team is great. This Jazz team is great. Jordan Clarkson is doing what he's supposed to be doing. Jordan Clarkson is playing like the 6th man of the year. He is still playing like the 6th man of the year. He's great, coming off the bench, giving the Jazz what they need, and with that second unit. And it's gonna be hard for this Clipper team to beat this Jazz team. They had a little trouble with Dallas, especially not being able to win at home, but to win Game 7 at home. But still, not winning any games at home, and it was tough. This Dallas team was tough. Luka was tough. It's just Dallas had Dallas is missing a real number 2. Porzingis is not the number 2. To me, Porzingis is your 3rd option. Porzingis is a number 3 option, and that to me, that's what the Mavs need. Mavs need a number 2 option, and Porzingis is not the number 2. But going back to the Clippers, they're gonna have to play lights out to keep up and beat this Jazz team. We all want to see these games go 6-7 games, but if the Clippers play the way they played against Dallas, it's gonna be harder for them to beat this Jazz team. So we'll see how that goes. That's the second round in the West, the second round in the East. Game 1 played on Sunday for the Sixers and the Hawks. Great game, really great game. Hawks went out to a big lead. At one point, I saw the lead at 21 points, and it looked like this Sixers team just couldn't keep up, and just I don't know, felt hurt. Not injury wise, not physically wise, but they just felt hurt. Coming, playing this game, playing the first 3 quarters. They made a run, they made a comeback. They were within 2 points in the 4th quarter, and they couldn't finish it. But the way Trae Young has been playing, Trae has been he's the general of this team. He's been leading this team all year. He's since they had the coaching change, they've been really good. Trae and Capella are a good team. That's your 1 and 2 right there. And the way they've been playing is they make it look easy. Doing the high pick and roll, hitting Capella in the paint. It's been that is, and then with Collins too, Collins being that option out there also, and he's been playing great. This Hawks team is going to be hard to beat. They're fast. they hit hard. It's just boom, 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 all up and down the court. Sixers can keep up, but they can't fall behind like they did in game one. They can't keep falling behind like the way they did in game one. They have to keep up. Embiid looked good. Um, Embiid at first, wasn't sure if he was going to start or if he was even going to play. He ended up starting. He ended up playing. He still, he got his numbers. He had a great game. Big factor into the comeback. Him and Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is great. Like I said before in the past, he just needs to shoot more. If his defense is great. His ball handling is great. He's good with the ball. He's good with making decisions. It's just we need to see him score more. We need to see him take more shots. We need to see him score more just because we know he can. Tobias Harris has been playing great too. And you got and also with Curry. Curry's been playing great too. He's been playing a little bit. He's been on a little bit of a down, but he needs to play a little bit better. He's been playing good. In the first round, he played great. He just needs to step it up a little bit more. And then with Danny Green being your sharpshooter out there, he's been Danny Green. Defense, 3-pointers, he's set. So this Sixers team needs to keep up and not fall behind with this Hawks team, because if they do, it's going to be hard. This Hawks team is on a roll right now, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon. They might have one bad game, If they do, that's it. It's just one game. They're not going to have back-to-back bad games. They're not going to have more than one bad game in this series. And, it's just going to be harder and harder to keep up and try to beat this Hawks team. Now, with the other series, we got the Brooklyn Nets and the Milwaukee Bucks. That series is going to be like one of the best series in the playoffs in the postseason this year. That one is easily going to go 7 games. But if it's going to be a little bit harder for the Nets, I believe. They didn't make it seem like that after the Harden went out. Harden is out with the injury, with the hamstring injury, so we're not sure how long exactly he's going to be out, but it's going to be a little bit harder for this Nets team to beat the Bucks. Giannis has this chip on his shoulder. Giannis is really trying to get to these finals. Had the opportunity the last 2 seasons, being the number 1 seed, being the best team in the league, winning MVP, winning Defensive Player of the Year, and it's just he's got to prove himself now. This year he has to prove himself. With the addition of Drew Holiday, PJ Tucker, they've been playing really good. They didn't have the chance. They had a chance, but didn't have a chance in game 1 when Harden went out, just because the Nets were already on the road. The Nets were already in their rhythm. They already, had their game going. They were set. Losing Harden it hurt their offense. It hurt their team, but at the same time, they were in that rhythm enough to still keep the game in their hands and to win the game against the Bucks. That's going to be a great series. Is going to be very entertaining. It's going to be fun to watch. And we're going to see how KD and Kyrie can, jump into action and finish this series to move on. So we're going to see how that works out. We're going to see, how Giannis can step up and beat this Brooklyn team, because he has to get to the finals this year. It's getting harder and harder year after year, because next year is going to be even harder for Giannis to reach the finals, and we're just going to see how it works out. That's all the BS I have for this episode. Until next time.